Hello and welcome to another episode of Rapidly Aging Tech. Today, I'm doing something a little different, as you can see on the screen. Should be some World of Warships gameplay, unless something's changed. I wanted to give you an update, since those who have been with the channel from the beginning will probably have noticed that the upload schedule has dropped a little bit. I think I was pretty good at being every week, for the most part. Now it's dropping to closer to 2 weeks. I just wanted to tell you folks I'm still around. Basically, the only days in my schedule that I can really do anything are the weekends. And if other things are going on, then that usually means that I can't really get to filming. Sometimes it's big events, weddings, that sort of, the big life-changing events, things you have to go to. Other times it's, it's just, I've been working all week, and I want to actually do something that would be, not workish. I do enjoy doing this, but sometimes you want to be around people, if it makes any sense. So I wanted to give an update on that and say I'm here. I'm still working on some things. I have some very interesting stuff coming up that I'm sure you'll be interested in. I have a couple of boards that take dual processors. One is pretty dang rare, with some, I guess I'd say, fairly rare chips as well that seem to have only been designed to go with it. It's an AMD system, so if you know what I'm talking about, then you should be excited. Another one is a Intel board, which also takes dual chips. As you recall, the XPS 720 machine, I dubbed the anti-Power Mac G5 because of how similar it is to a G5 in an anti-way. Well, these two boards, I believe, will make good examples of purpose-built anti-Power Macs. The big thing about the Power Mac G5 Quad is it is a dual processor system, and so I wanted to reflect that. So stay tuned. It takes money, of course, you don't have a lot of, so it'll probably slowly filter in. Speaking of the XPS 720, I do have a replacement motherboard, so at some point we're going to put that guy in and see if we can bring it back to life and actually, do what I wanted to do with it. So those are some updates there. There's things coming down the pipe. I also have other projects and other computers to showcase. And with that in mind, I just wanted to say thank you to all my subscribers. The numbers have been going up last time I checked, which was earlier today. I think about 175. I wanted to thank you guys. I'm looking in the analytics. It seems like for the last week or so, there's been just consistent views going on, which I don't know where it came from, but, it's great. It must be the new guys just going through the channel. If you are a new fellow, you haven't been around since the beginning, I do encourage you to, look back at some of the older stuff, see if there's something you haven't watched yet that might be of interest. And then, of course, I always appreciate some suggestions on directions to go. Keep in mind that, budget constraints do mean that I usually can't just go out and buy something to test or work on. It happens sometimes when I'm looking for it, but too many requests, I'm sure I won't be able to fulfill them all. So that's just an update with that. Thank you guys for being around. And I do say guys intentionally. There's very few women that watch the channel, but it's a tech channel. What would you expect? So stick around, give me suggestions, and I hope you enjoy. I'm not sure if this style of video is of any interest to you folks. With some gameplay in the background. I'm not very good, as you can probably tell. But if you like this sort of thing, where maybe I talk about something in the tech industry, I might continue it as a once-in-a-while thing. Maybe, I'm not going to say weekly. It's not going to happen. But I did want to talk about one tech thing while I'm doing this, amongst the updates and the thank yous. The RX Vega launch. Now, I know it's rapidly aging technology, and I focus on older stuff. But I also pay attention to the new things in the industry. And some of you might be, if you do sometimes look at newer things, might be pretty disappointed in the RX Vega lineup as it came out. Came out late, isn't performing as high as people would have preferred. And I think we can all understand, to an extent why. ATI Radeon, well now AMD, have pretty well been bleeding cash for a long time. there were times, and Adored TV did a good example of showing this, where the ATI Radeon, or the just Radeon after it was fully AMD, chips, well, cards, sometimes they were better than the Nvidia counterparts, or they were more competitive for their value. So you'd be paying less for something maybe in the mid-range somewhere. The mid-range Radeon would be more powerful than the mid-range Nvidia at about the same price. But people kept buying Nvidia, had the Mindshare. So they didn't get enough money to keep being ahead or keep moving ahead to be competitive. I think AMD is in a good position to strike back, to slowly grow back and have a far more competitive graphics card. Their Ryzen launch has been going very well, I think. It's very different from what Intel's offering. The instructions per clock seem to be a little lower, and the clock speeds are a little lower, but there's more cores, and it's not like the Bulldozer launch, where Bulldozer came out far too weak. Piledriver redeemed it to an extent. If it would have started at Piledriver, I think it would have been good. But this is a different case. This is looking good for AMD. It's just hoping that they'll get enough cash to have enough research funds to make a really strong card. And I would suggest to most of you folks that if you're in the market for a graphics card and you're in the price range of the RX Vega, probably the 56 seems to be the most bang for your buck. If you're looking between it and the 1070, and it looks like they're performing very similarly, which it looks like it is, I would suggest leaning towards the AMD card to give them that cash. Now, right now with the mining boom and inflated costs, you probably don't want to buy much of anything right now. Hold off for a while. But once prices settle down, I would say try going for them. Give them a chance to build up and be a competitive product. Otherwise, Nvidia will just keep thrashing everything. And if you're crying out loud, if you can't beat Nvidia when you have a better product, how are you supposed to beat them when you have a lesser product? People just need to, take the time to know that they're an option and to look at them every time they're going to make a purchase to see, does it make sense? I've been an ATI Radeon user since I was a kid, so I have a fondness for them. So I am biased in that way. But I think it's good to support the little guy once in a while so that the big guy doesn't become the only guy. So keep that in mind. I do expect that the RX Vega cards to age well, as their cards have since, the 7000 series? The HD 7000 series, maybe even earlier back. They've been aging pretty well. And driver updates should bring out some more performance. I don't think they'll be Titan killers, but they should be very solid cards. And then, of course, if you do other fancy things where their computational power makes sense, go ahead. But I would just encourage you, if you're in the market, to look at them when prices settle down. Probably a third-party card, something with higher clocks and better cooling. Give them a chance so that, Radeon cards can get more funding for research and become better and better over time. So then, at some point, the market will have two very solid choices, as opposed to one choice for the high end, which has been Nvidia, and then some middling stuff, which, there's a lot of people buy from them. The middle realm is probably where the most money gets spent, but not necessarily made, since the margins are lower. But it's all about Mindshare. So I would say contribute when it makes sense to kind of shift the Mindshare to be more even playing field. If you want an example of how Mindshare can be strong, of course there was also some corruption involved. When the Athlon 64 came out, it took a while of the Athlon 64 series being better than the Pentium 4 series in almost seems to be most every task, except for some media encoding, to just eke up to, a little below 50% market share. And that was when it was a superior product. It took that long. Of course, there was some corruption and companies being paid off to not use them. But it took that long. And then as soon as Core 2 hit, which was it's a good architecture, AMD then just started to sink back down again. So try to contribute to an even playing field. So take a look at the other guys, a good strong look, and see what makes sense for your budget and what performance you need. I'm not telling you to just go out and buy a Radeon card because we need to shove the money towards them. That's not how things work. But give them a chance rather than just thinking in your head that Nvidia is the only cards out there. They're not. So that's my opinion on it. The RX Vega, yeah, I kind of wanted it to be a Titan killer because that would help ease the Mindshare issue quicker. It'd start to fix that quicker when you have the top card, right? Because that's when all the big YouTubers will start using them, all the tech guys. But when you're not the top card, all the builds, Linus Tech Tips, Jace 2 Cents, Bitwit, formerly Awesome Sauce Network, these guys, they tend to use the top of the line stuff. And so when they're always shoving Nvidia into their rigs, which makes sense, they're going for top of the line, it buries the other folks. So that even I guess a casual power user, I'm not sure what to classify, people who actually take a little bit of time to look up graphics cards rather than running straight to the store, straight to Newegg to find the thing they want, who do a little bit of research, they'll go to these people, and they're good channels, and all they'll see is Nvidia, so let's go straight to Nvidia, because that's the top dog. So try to consider them. That's my advice to you. I'm going to give RX Vega some time for the A prices to drop, B to have the third-party cards coming out, and I'm thinking about probably getting one. I'm running a R9 Fury, the non-X version, and it served me pretty well. If I'm quite honest, it doesn't really have any problems. What I'm really hoping for is a switch to a card that is true dual slot. Mine is about 2.5 slots, which means I'm covering over one of the expansion cards. I originally built my computer to be a Crossfire rig, and I added more expansion cards, and now there's no room. I think I could probably swing one if I had an extra slot up higher on the board to shift some cards around, but that's a lot of money and probably not worth it. Anywho, I'm going to be looking into Vega, and if I do that upgrade, I will, of course, show it. Anywho, so this has just been an update, my thoughts on RX Vega, and giving, I always want to say ATI Radeon, so I'll get ATI Radeon a chance with your money when you're going to buy a modern card. If you're buying old stuff, that just comes down to what was best at the time. So that one, and the companies have already made their money on their cards, so do whatever you want. I would just say do your research and buy what is the most powerful for the particular period you're going for, which will probably go back and forth. And remember chipset issues. Sometimes on the earlier boards, the chipset didn't like a particular graphics card, as we saw with my Windows 98 machine. So just do whatever you want. Probably there'll be 3DFX, because that's those are the guys to get. I started getting stuff a little after Voodoo was out there. So I didn't really... I'm not really on the Voodoo bandwagon. Not that there's anything wrong with them, it's just that it wasn't... it's not a point of nostalgia for me. But anyway, I've rambled long enough. Anyway, if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, go ahead and tell me. Maybe me just playing something with this screen capture stuff. Of course, this screen capture is on my main machine. I had to get rid of my classic theme in order to make it work, which is goofy. But so I can do some modern games if you are interested in that sort of thing. And I'm sure I could probably have some witty banter. I'm not sure how I could get some friends involved with this or not. Anywho, have a great day, and stick around the channel. Things are coming. When they're coming, who knows? But just be aware. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that, nonsense, chill, hoopla. See you later. Bye.